The Boston Red Sox hit the field looking to get back on top of the American League East. We're breaking down every pitch all season long on Ovi's Backstop Podcast, part of the CMG Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to Ovi's Backstop Podcast. I'm your host, Ovi Muniz. Follow me on Twitter at Ovi Muniz, or you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook. And that's right, it is Ovi's Backstop Podcast presented by Clovercrest Media. That's right, it is the CMG Sports Network. This is our first first video podcast that we are covering with the Boston Red Sox and, of course, the rest of Major League Baseball. But this series here against the Philadelphia Phillies is finally over. 3-game series. The Red Sox did defeat the Phillies 2 out of 3 games. Unfortunately, they could not get the sweep. But, hey, it is still baseball, and it's still a long season. And a big surprise because the Boston Red Sox are now tied in first place with the Tampa Bay Rays. And close enough, the New York Yankees are creeping up. But who would have known that the Boston Red Sox will be forming the way they are today? I mean, first place, everyone predicted they will be fourth or finishing last, and yet here they are once again proving everybody wrong. But listen, like I said before, it is a long season. But hey, let's recap on what's happened this past week. But first, let's start off by saying that if you're following the Ovi's Backstop Podcast, you can listen to your audio podcast at any platforms that you can see on the screen. And also, look, this week, the Toronto Blue Jays, early in the week, the Red Sox took 2 out of 3. The same thing they did with the Philadelphia Phillies, 2 out of 3. But the Boston Red Sox came in here batting a .288, but the ERA was sky high at 5.19. And that is a big concern, especially in the month of June when the competition is going to get even more, harder, because we're facing the Houston Astros, we're facing the New York Yankees, and both those teams are getting hotter and hotter each day, right? And as you see in the series with the Philadelphia Phillies, their average went down to .229. However, slightly the ERA improved to a 4.15. But with everything that's going on right now, you got to thank these 3 Red Sox batters right here: Alexander Bogaerts, JD Martinez, and Rafael Devers. They are hitting it up in the 3-4-5 lineup. That's right, Alexander Bogaerts leading the team in batting average with a .345, 10 home runs and 30 RBIs. He leads the team with a total of 59 hits and tied with Rafael Devers with 14 doubles. JD Martinez is batting a .328, 12 home runs, 37 RBIs, and he's leading the team with an on-base percentage with a .404. And Rafael Devers started very slow at the beginning of the season, and he is racking them up as we go. He is now batting a .278 with 13 home runs, 39 RBIs, and 14 doubles. And moving on to the struggling part of the Red Sox lineup, we have 3 guys here. And what's surprising is Bobby Dalbec. He is batting a .206. You know, last season, even though it was a pandemic year, but he was hitting it hard with, playing 25 games. He was knocking the ball out of the park. But this year, I mean, he's struggling at the plate. And little by little, he's getting his home runs. But he is striking out a lot, and that is a big concern moving on forward. I guess Alex Cora still stick with him at first base, trying to fill it up and see how everything will flow, especially now that, look, in this time of frame right now, we're about to complete 2 months of baseball, and the Red Sox are finally, making a lot of noise, proving everybody wrong. But with all that's going on, these three guys right here on screen, they've been struggling. And imagine if they didn't struggle. Imagine that their averages were at least close to 300. The Red Sox would be dominant. And especially now that they would have a gap in the standings. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And we got that going on right now. But Marwin Gonzalez batting a 2-1 with 39 strikeouts, but he is best known for his utility work. You cannot question his defensive mechanism, because no matter if he's at left or right field or anywhere in the infield, Marwin Gonzalez is got everything on lock when it comes to defense. We just hope that he's better off, hitting the ball better. All right. But hey, it's still plenty of baseball. Things could turn around, especially the bottom lineup, but we definitely need it. Our starters, Evalde, 5-2, 4.39 ERA, but within the last 7 days, he's 1-0, 5.23 ERA. That is concern right there. But, again, as I stated before, it's a long season, but when things are getting hotter, so is everyone else. And so can these starters maintain their proficiency and be able to lock the batters down? Garrett Richards, 4-2 with a 3.72 ERA. He is spectacular in the last 4 starts, but within the last week, he is 1-0 with a 2.70 ERA. He's been lasting long in the game, pitching at least 6 to 7 innings, and that's something that the bullpen needs, is a guy like that could last long. Erod, 5-3, 5.06 ERA. A lot of concerns with him. The last 3 games, he ended up losing, and the fact that he's only averaging 4 to 5 innings a game, that puts a lot of stress in the bullpen. And in the last week, he is 0-1 with a 9.00 ERA. Something's got to give, especially if you're the ace. You're supposed to be performing better. But the rest of the lineup of the starting pitching are looking good. And let's see what happens moving on forward, especially this upcoming week, while the Red Sox do play against the Atlanta Braves. And let's not forget about the closer, Matt Barnes, 1-1 with a 2.42 ERA with 11 saves, his lowest ERA in his career. And just imagine that with almost halfway through the season, and he's just putting up the numbers. He's leading the American League with 11 saves. More props to him, especially that he came with a goal this season to be the closer for the Boston Red Sox. But overall, with him and the rest of the pitching, they are improving, especially the many games that they have pitched. And let's look at the AL East standings right now. Boston Red Sox and the Tampa Bay Rays are tied. The Rays are on fire, winning 10 straight games. But how are they winning 10 straight games? Who are they playing against? What I tell you, they're playing the New York Mets. They're playing the Baltimore Orioles. Of course, they're going to get those winning streak going on. But they got their hands full, because pretty soon at the end of the month, they will be facing the New York Yankees, and let's see if they be able to continue with their winning streak. And speaking about the Yankees are only a half a game behind the first place Red Sox and Rays, and they also are winning spectacular as well, especially dealing with injuries in the lineup. You got to give it to them, man. The Yankees are fighting all the way through. They had a terrible start, but they're making a lot of noise. The Toronto Blue Jays were neck to neck, but they seem to be falling apart, losing 5 straight. And the Baltimore Orioles' glory was the first 3 games of the season, sweeping the Boston Red Sox. And from there on, they have no show. So who knows what's going on with the Orioles right now, but they definitely are hitting rock bottom, losing 6 in a row. But the Boston Red Sox, who have been solo in first place since April 10th, they're now tied with the Rays. Who knows what they can do? But I tell you what, right now, they need to improve in runners in scoring position. That is their biggest flaw right now. Right? In the series, they went 6 for 24 in the Phillies, and identical numbers with the Blue Jays. But if you go that previously with the Angels and the Oakland A's, they've been struggling with a 217 average with runners in scoring position. If they need to improve, they need to be clutch when it comes to runners in second and third base because they're not performing. However, they are ranked third in home runs. And for some odd reason, they just been bombing the place. And that's what we at least expected. Red Sox are not known for just hitting home runs left and right. But this season, they're just tearing it up in the air. So can they continue doing that with that success? We'll have to wait and see on that. But, hey, the next couple of series, it looks in favor for the Red Sox right now compared to the Rays and the Yankees. The Boston Red Sox will face the Atlanta Braves in a 2-game series and then end the week with a 3-game series versus the Miami Marlins. But the Rays, they're finishing off with the Royals, and then they'll play the Philadelphia Phillies and end the month facing the New York Yankees. The Yankees face the Blue Jays in the 3-game series, and then they'll face the Detroit Tigers. So right now, the Boston Red Sox are hoping that the Rays and Yankees fall apart in the next couple of weeks. And, hey, again, for the Red Sox finishing the series strong, they need these next 5 games to win because after that, they are facing the Astros and the Yankees in the month of June. And now we're moving on to, again, the next series for the Red Sox. As you can see, the Boston's still tied in first place. But the Atlanta Braves, they won 3 straight games. They're getting hotter now. Even though they're 1 game under 500, they are on pursuit to win. And especially the National League East is a tight race. They have the Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Mets. The Mets are struggling as of late. The Phillies, they only won 1 out of 3 games versus the Red Sox, and that sets good for the Atlanta Braves. But can they actually win it? The Boston Red Sox seem to struggle at Fenway Park, but they have Garrett Richards on the mound for the Red Sox, who is 4-2, 3.72 ERA. And we also have Pivetta, who is 5-0 with a 3.59 ERA. And they're going against Morton, who is 2-2 with a 4.60 ERA. He knows what's up with the Red Sox, as he was a former player with the Houston Astros, and he definitely knows about Alex Cora. So, but against the Red Sox, the batters are only batting a 224. And for Smiley, who's pitching game 2, the Red Sox have struggled batting a 137. So this is either going to be a pitching duel or it's going to be an all-out run scoring at Fenway Park. But if whatever prediction it is, I got a feeling this may be a split 1-1, but I'm hoping for a sweep. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. So even though this show is pretty much quick and everything else, I'll definitely have a guest on the show so we could talk about more about Major League Baseball, especially a whole bunch of no-hitters that's happening, the conspiracy about the baseball itself, and the offense. The offense are slacking. The Major League Baseball is averaging a 233. But, again, will they make them changes by the All-Star break and the numbers go up for the batters? We're just praying to see, especially that, Major League Baseball, they want to see a lot of action going on. And so far, we're seeing a lot of strikeouts. And I won't be surprised if there'll be a strikeout record this season for the year 2021. But hey, if you want to continue subscribing and following me, please do go to the YouTube channel, Ovi's Backstop Podcast. Subscribe. Let me know how you feel about this show. Again, this is a grand opening live video coverage of the Backstop Podcast. And one more news before we go. Starting on May 29th, 2021, the Red Sox will open up their stadium to 100% capacity. And yes, finally, we're going back to normalcy as we deal with the coronavirus pandemic. It's been a whole long year, and I'm glad that things are going back to normal, not only for baseball, but for everywhere else. So on behalf of the Clovercrest Media and myself, we hope that everyone out there listening in are being safe and being cautious wherever you go. Clovercrest Media sponsoring the Ovi's Backstop Podcast. They got so many shows. Tune in to clovercrestmedia.com, and you can tune in to all kinds of sports, crime, conspiracy, politics, you name it. They always speaking it real. That's right. So tune in to Clovercrest Media. You can find them at clovercrestmedia.com. And here's the website presented to you live. And of course, there's many articles about anything and everywhere that you want to know about the world. Go on clovercrestmedia.com. And that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to the show. Again, I'm Ovi Muniz, and I'm telling you right now, this is going to be one hell of a season. Thank you, Frank, for tuning in to the show. And once again, thank you for watching Ovi's Backstop Podcast.
Thank you so much for listening to Ovi's Backstop Podcast, part of the CMG Sports Podcast Network. For more, visit hhwshow.com.